Our guest for this episode and for part of this is, of course, it's a great privilege and pleasure to welcome Glen Byrne. Glen, thanks for joining us, and hope you've been able to enjoy that incredible show a couple of weeks ago where you came away with the win.
How's it going, Al? Thanks very much for having me on. I appreciate you taking the time. Yeah, a really, really good night there. I think it was this time last month. An amazing night, something that I don't think I'll ever forget. One that I will always have in my memories and be able to look back on.
You've been in a few of them, to be fair to you, mate. And your show, as I said, in the National Stadium, it's hard to believe how quickly the time has passed since that, because we didn't know
Mm.
when the next one was, and it's after flying back around. But there was plenty of talking points from that night in itself. But the big story, I suppose, and I want to lead into your fights and your wins and your draws and everything else, was their special relationship. I mean, the relationship, it's unique to Irish boxing. But when you look at your brother as your coach, first of all, he's your brother. He's almost a parental figure. He's a role model. He's your coach. He's your promoter. He's probably your manager. That must get tricky at
Yeah.
times as well, I'm sure. Has there been moments where the gloves come off and you said, you know what, I'm done with this and I'm out of here?
A couple of times we've had little arguments, like at the end of the sparring session or through training or whatever, but it's kind of there's nobody better that I could feel that could be looking after my career, especially at this stage. Every opportunity I've gotten, he's been the man who's got me them. He has a lot of really good connections. Like as I said, the last fight was obviously in the Tree Arena. He's the one who got me on that show. He's guided my career perfectly, I believe, so far. The matchmaking, and he puts a lot of time into matchmaking to help improve me as a
Yeah.
boxer. And he's obviously looking at the matches, so then he knows what we need to work on in training, and it all just comes together. So having him coach me, manage me, promote me, everything just coincides together, and it's really really helpful for me.
Something I've been privy to working with Jay quite a long time, right back when he was fighting himself and when he was managing Carl Kelly and an incredible bunch of fellas then. That's how long he's around. People don't be fooled by the young looks. Well, I'm not going to ask him his age. We'll have Jay on here shortly. I'm not going to ask him his age, but he's not as young as he looks. I can tell you that much. But he's been around this game a long, long time. He's made promises to fighters and he's never not kept his promises. And listen, Jay is not a hard one to fall out with. I've never had a falling out with him, but he speaks his truth. He speaks his honest and he speaks it open. And that's not nice for some people. Some people don't like to act like that. Everything he's always said to me, everything he's always done, promised me, he's delivered. And I know for a fact any of his fighters are the same. That's all you can ask for in this pro game, because if you have somebody like that behind you, mate, you're doing half the battle. You've got half the battle. The rest is giving you a fair chance and an even platform then just to do your thing. Isn't that right?
Yeah, 100%. I think if you ask any of his fighters, whatever he spoke to them at the start when they were signed, he's delivered. I think key example is Senan Kelly. Senan Kelly was fed up with boxing, and Jay told him he would get him these opportunities. And Senan, as far as I'm aware, is two-way Celtic champion. Is he? Is he two-way
Yeah.
Celtic
Yeah.
champion? And he is Irish champion. And then he co-headlined the Tree Arena, which is unbelievable. So within Jay of being 2 years back promoting, managing fighters, that's an unbelievable thing to deliver to one of his fighters. And I believe that that's just one example. I believe there's many other fighters. Paul Lunham's the same. Paul, now it's a credit to Paul. Paul's an exceptional boxer, but he's getting him the opportunities, and he's doing it to all his fighters. As I said, I don't think you could ask one of his fighters, has he not delivered on anything that he's told him from the start. So, even down to domestic boxing, even the fighters he doesn't manage, he's given them a lot of great opportunities. And I think you just have to look at this card coming up now. A lot of fighters in the domestic fights he doesn't manage, but he's still putting on a good
Yeah.
platform for domestic fighters to achieve dreams and win titles and fight on big stages.
Something I spoke to Jay Quigley about this morning is this this preciousness about Irish. And I won't say it's just Irish boxing. There's a preciousness. I'll try that again. Preciousness around boxing at times where certain shows don't want to work with other shows and certain stables don't want to work with other stables. I think that's been done away with over the last while. We've got the likes of Jamie Conlon, we've got Mick Conlon, we've got Jason Quigley up in Donegal, we've got McElhenney's, we've got Jay himself. It's brilliant cross dynamics between all the shows, and some fellas that can cross pollinate from one show to the other, represent the stable, and that's how come back and fight. Irish boxing is too small to have any nitty, silly, petty arguing and fighting and fallouts. It's if we're going to make this work, which we right are at the moment, I think we're going to all have to work together. And it's an incredible way to see the way it's all just coming together slowly but surely, culminating with these shows in the National Stadium for fighters that maybe not everybody would listen. Not every fighters are at different levels and they take a different while to get to those levels, Len. But if without people like Jay and without people like Jay Quigley, and that we wouldn't have these shows, and we certainly wouldn't be building the stars of the future.
Yeah, I think you look at Ireland over the last few years, they've been kind of starved the boxing, and the boxers who are getting the bigger shows, they're coming from a big amateur background, or they're signing with like a decent promoter straight off the bat, and they're being given the opportunities very early. Whereas it leaves the fighters
Yeah,
in the dark who haven't got the amateur pedigree, or who are trying to make a stab at it. But if you look at the UK, there's a lot of really top class UK boxers who have no amateur experience or weren't the best amateurs, and they're featuring on the bigger shows. So the way now that there's a lot of shows in Ireland, there's a lot of pros who've turned over, they're fighting regularly. Like, I don't know how many shows there's been in Ireland this year. I'm sure probably by the end of the year, will it touch 15,
easy.
maybe more. Yeah, so like there's so many opportunities for people to be fighting where they can build their record, they're training constantly, and they could overshadow a lot of the top class amateurs who've turned over because they've
Yeah.
been given opportunities. So I do think with a lot of promotions in the country now, it's only good for the boxers.
Something I've always dreamed of, and I'm not greedy. I'm not greedy because no matter what
Mm,
those boxing people get, we always think of a little bit more. But I've always imagined a day in Ireland where there's a scenario like in the GA or like in the soccer, where maybe not every town, but at least every province can represent and have a few fellas fighting out of a town. Because you look at the support you get from Bray, look at the support that lads get from Dublin. I just talked to Cathal Crowley, I'll talk to Kevin Cronin. The fight, the atmosphere, the crowd, the intense rivalry that you're going to get there is something that I've always wished that I understand. Journeymen play a colossal part in a fighter's career, but I also understand the magic that happens between a cross town derby, when we had the likes of Fitzy fighting Andy Lee and we had Fitzy fighting Spike. Those days are very
mm.
close, and it's coming down to lads like Jay and what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously on the larger scale, we had Donovan and Crocker a few weeks ago, which is obviously a huge all Irish fight. But I do think that the more and more the domestics are building, and the more people are turning pro, that'll probably become a regular feature.
Yeah,
Maybe not for world titles, but I'm sure it'll come. It could be filling in for European titles, international titles, and it will be, as you said, like the atmosphere is electric.
yeah,
These four domestic fights now on Friday night. The atmosphere in the stadium's going to be unbelievable. Genuinely, I can't wait. I'm delighted that I'm sitting on a seat watching them rather than being in the back and trying to listen and see who's winning. And it's a really, really good show. And then take from the four domestics, you also have Tony McGlynn in a cracking fight, which is
yeah.
an Ireland versus England fight. And I know that his opponent is bringing over a good few fans as well. So that'd be another one that should be tasty and have good atmosphere.
I'm sure when you say that, you're probably going to have you're sitting there on Friday night, and nobody in the place will have itchier knuckles than you.
Mhm.
You've had an incredible run. You're 6-0, 6-0 and one, and the fight that we look at, because it was again before I get to that last fight and look too much into it. Um, you had a title fight in your fifth fight. We're getting these belts active again. For
Mm.
so long, these belts have been gathering dust in Ireland, while there's an immense amount of talent going through. And there's even for the amount of talent that's gone through, there was an even more amount that was been lost and left behind. And as you said, now you're like the likes of Paul Lunham and those lads, Miles Casey, and just an incredible group that are all been pulled together. Your fight, your fifth fight for a title against Charlie Lopez. I'm going to put my hand up here, Jay, and he's going to hold me to task tomorrow about it. He wasn't
Yeah.
impressed with. He wasn't impressed. Listen, I love that about Jay. He'll text me and say, "I thought you were a bit harsh there, pal. What do you think?" And we'll
Mm.
chat and we'll have it. There's something special about that, Glenn. And I'm not just saying it because he's your big brother. I'm not saying that at all. There's something very special about a man who's willing to have that conversation. And when you can agree or disagree, that fight in
Mm.
itself, you started off incredible. It was an incredible atmosphere. It
Yeah.
was incredible. You were, to me, you were cruising. I won't say cruising because it was thereabouts. And the impression I got, and you can tell me what you think, and this is just was that halfway through, it was something changed, and I couldn't put my finger on it. Was it an injury? Was it just an energy dump? Was it a case of Lopez just upping the ante? Was it a case of the experience and everything just coming, or was it just one of those things? It's just a fight the way it unfolds. I don't know, but my the way I saw it was that you started all of a sudden the things that you were doing early in the fight, you were finding more
Mm.
difficult to do as the fight went on. Does that make sense, or is that?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I've watched it back loads of times, and like from the night, I know the issue was I tired out, and I discussed it with myself because I thought I'd done everything I could in training, and I thought I had every box covered, but I tired in the middle rounds, and I didn't
Mm,
expect him to be. I knew, don't get me wrong, we knew his style, and we knew he was a come forward fighter, but I never imagined him to never stopped coming forward. And then in the first few rounds, I was doing well, but I find I have an issue that I just throw unnecessary punches. So, for example, I was winning them rounds, but I just didn't stop throwing stupid
Yeah.
punches. And that's probably down to the reason why I burnt out on energy and stuff, because I was well ahead in the rounds and I was still going full force. Whereas it's obviously down to a lack of experience that I should have used my head and right, I'm winning this round. Just maybe go on the back foot, take a little breather and stuff like that. Whereas I just kept meeting them in the middle or kept trying to meet fire with fire. Whereas I probably shouldn't have, and I think that's what tired me out. Um, but I do, yeah. I I think I done well, and like for example, it was only in the later of the round. Like so, for example, like when I watched it back, it was like 2 minutes of the round. I was fine. I was doing well, and the first 2 minutes or so was then kind of like the last minute or so I was
Yeah.
tiring, and there was a couple of things that I realised after the fight that probably let me down in training as well. But going into the fight, I thought I ticked every box. But when I sat and looked back, there was a few things that I wasn't happy with, but it was been all corrected. So
That's fair. That is fair. And you know what it is? That's exactly the way I saw it. I thought, and I wasn't sure because we never know. We can only you can see something happen, but you can never know why it's happening. And sometimes the fighters themselves don't know what's happening. But mate, what I will say is, and it makes absolute sense, is 5 fights into your career, your pro career, and you're fighting for a title in front of an arena, in front of a raucous crowd like that. Even when they're for
mm,
you, it's a massive energy sapping experience. I know from leaving the arenas at night and I get into the car and I go back, I'm like, phew. So I can imagine what you dudes are like when you're after being in the front and center. You're busted up, you're busted open, you're everything else, and you have a million and one things going on. It's absolutely understandable, man. But talk to me about the change of opponent. You were first and foremost, that was the only thing on your mind, like any true champ, like any true warrior. You wanted that one back. We knew that was going to
yeah.
happen until it didn't. How big of an issue was that for you a couple of days out from the fight in the Tree Arena?
Yeah, it was very disappointing. I think it was the Monday night we got the call that Charlie had to withdraw from the fight, which was devastating for me. Because I put in a really, really good camp and I'd spent a lot of time on focusing on the things I done wrong in the fight against Charlie. And I was very confident going in that everything I'd done would have been the difference from the first fight. So then when we got the call that he'd cancelled, it was then basically that I was off the card. It was probably too late to get no replacement or whatever. And I have to say fair play to Jay and Sam from Wasserman. They done all they could to get the replacement, and they obviously got in the guy I fought. Now going in against the guy I fought, he was completely different to what Charlie would have been. He was a southpaw. It was a late change. He'd only really been beaten by really good level lads. Like Pierce O'Leary beat him. Anthony Yiga had beaten him. Chris Congo. Like there's good level lads in the UK who he fought. He was never stopped, so I knew it was going to be a tough 6 round fight. Um, Different style, awkward. But my main thing was that I was getting the opportunity to fight the Tree Arena. So regardless kind of who it was going to be that I was going to fight, I was still going to say yeah, and I was still going to take the opportunity because it's something that probably won't come around too often fighting in the Tree Arena. So
Well, listen, according to Mick Conlon and according to Jay, when you're talking to them, it's like it's a cross pollination that's working really well and it works for everybody because the fighters in the area feed into it. And I'm sure when Mick brings the show back again, the time will be just right. There'll be time to get going again and have a camp, and who knows, we could be out again by the end of it. As we look ahead to the weekend, and if you're going to be the man, you're going to be sitting beside Jay this time. There's no pressure on you, and from that point of view, you get to have a night off. But
yeah,
the pressure on Jay, wearing one hat, wearing a promoter's hat, it's tough. When he has his own fighters fighting each other, it's tougher again. But when he's coaching his brother and everything else, do you see a change in him, or is he able to manage it as well? The way I described it to him before is it's like a swan in the canal. It's like very graceful and everything is rubbed together, and then underneath he's paddling like fuck. I don't know. He's a clever. I'd say he's a good poker player.
yeah, he does. He does be nervous as well for me, and like for the fight in the Tree Arena, he was really nervous because they had thought that the choice of opponent, he kind of nearly regretted picking the choice of opponent when it came down to the day because it was a big difference. And as I said, he was a decent opponent. So he does. He obviously has a different connection to me rather than just being a coach. Like so, he does suffer with the nerves and that,
Mhm.
but he does handle it well. He just put all into me and give me all that he can. So, yeah, like as I said earlier on, I'm very grateful and very happy to have him there.
before I let you go, Glenn, and I appreciate your time, because the side of the game that people think is all glamour and glitz and lots of Rolexes and Bentleys and Rolls Royces, it doesn't. Glenn is preparing. He's taking time out here on a Saturday evening to give me before he goes off and does an evening shift or a night shift. So massive props to you, my man, and thanks. I want to give you a shout out and give you a mention to the team. Ahead of, because I mean, you had Pete Taylor with you the last time. I know you had Matthew Tyndall Senior, you have Jay, but you've got an incredible bunch of people around you that are helping you. Does that help you make up or is it very much a case still of taking it slowly and taking it step by step and not getting too giddy or too hungry, as they say?
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with everybody who's around me. So there'll be Jay, Pete, Butch, Tommy McCormick. It's a good solid team. I think you look across the board there for me in Irish boxing, they're probably all the best in that field. So I'm very grateful for them. We're still the same as we were when we started, step by step, picking the right opponents at the right time and guiding me. Obviously, like everyone's career will come to a stage when you're at a point where it's like, right, we need to go into a certain fight and take the risk for the rewards. But at the moment, it is as it is. I do want to fight Charlie again. I, I'd imagine that fight will happen. And then it's just pushing forward onto other titles that can present themselves. Really,
We have to give a shout out to the whip as well. We can't forget Shane, but the job he does
yeah,
is incredible. We've
very
got a
very
special
good,
little show coming up, and it's called Crack with the Whip, and we're going to follow him around the
very
arena. We're
good.
going to follow a few little bits, because what that young man does on the show, everybody thinks he's just there for the fun. He operates at a level that most people don't understand, and he keeps every single fighter, whether you're a world superstar or whether you're an up and coming domestic level pro. Shane looks after them with the same level every time. So massive shout out to Butch, and of course to the whip himself.
The young
The
whip,
last
yeah.
the last thing I'm going to say to you, Len, a big story and a big part of what you did in the last fight, and the story came out, was how you changed your lifestyle around. This time of the evening, I'm looking out, it's a Saturday evening, the weather's not great. There's a lot of people will be getting ready to go and everything else. Safe to say you couldn't have reached where you've reached right now, and you can't go where you're going to go in the future if you'd have kept going where you're going. Talk to us about that transformation in you as a person and your lifestyle.
Yeah, 100%. Everything kind of changed for me over 3 years ago. I gave up drink because I was blessed. I got sick, and the hospital just told me I needed to stop drinking for a few months. And when I stopped for the few months, I realised that everything, I wasn't boxing even at the time, but everything else in my life just seemed to be getting better. And as time went on, it was a decision that I was like, right, I don't want to go back drinking. And like literally since that moment, my life has improved massively. There's not a single part of my life that has suffered since I've decided to stop drinking, and couldn't be any happier. As like it sounds, I got sick, but I'm absolutely delighted I got sick that time, because if my life didn't change, I wouldn't be in the position I am. I wouldn't have the life I have now, and I'm really, really happy for everybody, and everything that's in my life now is perfect, and I genuinely couldn't be happier for it.
The pubs and clubs in this island are full to the ceiling with people who coulda, shoulda, woulda. I could have beaten him. I could have beat him. I had a row with him in school. He beat me up in school. Mate, for you to do that and for you to do it the way you've done it and the way you keep doing it, and you take the controversy, you take the adversity, and to wear it the way
Yeah,
you do and represent yourself the way you do, it's an absolute it's a credit to you. It's a credit to you in yourself, because no one else can do that for you, man. You've done that. And in this day and age, there's a lot of people struggling. There's a lot going on. Life is hard for people, and it's tough. So listen, massive props to you for that. Can I ask you what's next? Will we likely to see you out again before Christmas, or will we have to ask Jay that one?
no, I do believe that there's potentially a fight before Christmas. I'm back in training. I took a bit of a break after the last fight, but I find obviously because I'm working full time, I'm training full time. That after me fights, I kind of need to give the body a bit of
Mm,
a break, because if I get back too soon, I just fall off the wagon then straight away. So I do have to listen to my body and that. But I've gotten back into training now. A slow week this week of just trying to get back into the swing of thing, get the diet back on track, and there is a fight there for me towards the end of November, just waiting on approval or to go ahead on it. So I'm hoping that happens. If not, I'm not sure if there's anything else. I had really told Jay I would like to fight before the year's out. It's been a very slow year with I had February cancelled, I had June cancelled,
yeah.
I had to pull out of August myself. So although I've gone through fight camps, I haven't had the fights at the end of them. So it has been a busy year, and I've covered a lot and I've improved a lot. But I've only had two fights this year in comparison to last year. I think I had four, and then obviously I had the one in November the first year. So I ideally would like to be having 3 or 4 fights a year going forward. So that's why I'm trying to get one more in this year just to keep it up.
Yeah, well, listen, we're looking forward to it. I'll put the same question to Jay in the morning, and his beauty of it is always with Jay, he'll either answer it or he won't. Glenn, it's been a privilege and a pleasure to have you on. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next for you, my friend. And we won't leave it as long the next time. We'll have you back on very soon as well. And listen, don't work too hard tonight. Give yourself a bit of a rest. He's the first week back training.
Indeed, Al. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.